Hello there guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for my rational perspective on Brighton 1, Chelsea 3. Chelsea win their opening game of the Premier League season. How we won it by 3-1 and how it was so comfortable in the end is a bit confusing, to be honest, based on the way the game played out overall. I think Brighton will feel very hard done by going away from that game with no points, especially going away from the game losing by 2 goals, because the way the game played out, at least for the first 65 minutes, Brighton controlled the game. There were very interesting things in terms of what Frank opted for the lineup, some of the players, some of the performances within the game. There were positives, there were negatives as well. We're going to get into. Before we get into any of that, if you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Daily videos on this channel in the 2020-21 season. Also hit that like button if you're happy about the opening win of the season, because it helps out the channel as well. But let's get into the starting lineup. I was surprised by the starting lineup. I was surprised because there were so many questions, weren't there? Werner and Havertz, were they going to start? Christian Pulisic, would he be fit for the game? The integration of younger players like Mason Mount in this team with the new signings. Defensively, what would Chelsea do? What would Lampard do to rectify the issues of last season? Kepa or Caballero? The team in itself, it was weird seeing Jorginho starting the game. And I think this night for me, sort of encompassed a lot of things of last season where players you don't expect to feature a lot surprise you and do feature a lot. That's becoming a prevalent theme under Frank Lampard for me. And I think Ross Barkley will be another player I touch on later in this review. But I think sort of some people saying the formation was going to be a 4-2-2-2. At times it maybe looked like that, to be honest. A fluid sort of attacking, sort of central midfield dominated formation with a lot of interchangeable movement between Ruben Loftus-Cheek, Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, behind Timo Werner up top. Unfortunately, that's not the way it works out. It just didn't work out like that at all. Chelsea did not gain control of that game for almost the majority of it, to be honest. In that first half, the way we got in front was because of a mistake. A sloppy pass by Brighton, who started the game really well. Tariq Lamptey had an amazing game, very fired up and pumped up against his former side. To be honest, if it wasn't for that Reece James strike and Reece James playing really well, in my opinion, I think there'd be some people I'm sure be going, why did we sell Tariq Lamptey? He was incredible for Brighton. He was the standout player for them today and definitely caused us so many problems throughout the game going forward. But that mistake led Timo Werner in very quick. It was a clear penalty. Jorginho, call as you like from penalties, a hop and a skip, it's in 1-0. And you're sort of thinking then Chelsea have got away with this in a sense. You know, we've rode the first sort of 20-25 minutes. Chelsea haven't got a hold of the ball. We don't look sharp at all. None of our players are connecting well. There's no rhythm to our play. It did feel a bit pre-season to me. I mean, the thing I want to say as well is I think a lot of people forget the fact that we only had one pre-season friendly and there's so many players coming in. Kai Havertz only getting a week of training. Other players as well returning from international duty. This team still looks like a team who are playing early pre-season friendlies, at least to me. That's what it seemed like today. They didn't really get going until Frank finally made a change in the second half. But I felt that maybe that goal would liven us up, but it didn't. It did the opposite. Chelsea, the goal just did not change the game. And that was the same effect with the second goal later on. But getting into half time, I think I'm a massive fan of Ruben Loftus-Cheek. If you've been following this channel, so anything I'm about to say about Ruben, if anyone watches this channel and claims I've got an agenda against him, really harsh against him, if you know me, you know I'm a massive fan of Ruben. I'm one of his biggest advocates, but I think he was really poor tonight. He did not grab the chance with both hands to me. He looked timid. He looked unsure, uncertain. I think for me, the big problem with that formation for a large majority of when it was actually on the pitch for me, and maybe you can make an argument that when Ross Barkley came on, it was sort of the same, but to me, Ross Barkley changed the game in a positive way. I felt at times Ruben was so sloppy in possession, and I think by the time he did get hooked off, I think it was right, to be honest. He could have been hooked off at half-time, in my opinion, based on his performances. For me, the biggest positive of that first half was Timo Werner, the acceleration of Werner, and you can almost see just glimpses there throughout that half. The unfortunate thing for Werner was we weren't in any sort of rhythm, so I think he had to do a lot of the work himself, creating chances for himself, but you could already see on transition, Chelsea can be devastating with Werner's pace. He really was causing a lot of problems. The unfortunate thing was we just didn't create a lot of opportunities for him, but I think the fact that he was so alert to the penalty, getting that penalty, winning that penalty, unfortunate, I think, not to score even. Could have scored before half-time when we didn't create a lot in that first half. Then you move on to the second half, and for me, no changes. And this is the criticism of Frank Lampard for me, where I saw it at certain times last season where a game is sort of moving in one direction, and I think at times Frank's very good at making swift changes, but I was a bit surprised he didn't, because nothing changed after half time. You thought maybe Lampard giving a team talk, some instruction, and I think I was waiting in that second half to find out personally if it was down to formation or down to player performances. Now, I think there is a bit of both there, as I spoke about Ruben Loftus-Cheek and other players not looking sharp, giving the ball away very cheaply, but to me it just illustrated and demonstrated more to me the formation or the system, and what was being set up there just didn't look very cohesive to me, and Brighton just continued where they left off, dominating the ball, creating chances. Then you come to the equaliser from Trossard. I felt like I've been transported back a few months. Kepa should have saved that. And I don't think it's a hot take to say Kepa's not good enough to be Chelsea's long-term goalkeeper. That's why they're about to sign Edouard Mendy. It was a big call by Lampard. For me, it was a toss of a coin between Willy Caballero or Kepa. I thought Frank would go with Willy because he played him at the end of last season, but another one of those cases, just a demonstration right there to Frank Lampard, who probably, giving him a chance, maybe a fresh start at the start of pre-season, and going and giving him a chance at the start of this season. It's just, I think it's a point of no return. I said that at the back end of last season, and I think Kepa will be spending a lot of time on the bench this season if Mendy turns out to be a big goalkeeper. And just other things as well, balls into the box in the first half, Kepa not being dominant, missing a ball completely. I mean, that just can't happen, and it's those elements that are going to let us down over and over again over the season. But then, literally straight after their equaliser, Reece James pops up with one of the strikes of probably this season. I hate to say that, I hate to be a bit of a Martin Keown here, because I know Martin Keown did that on Saturday with Aubameyang's goal, but this was incredible from Reece James, and we've seen him do it. I think it's great to see him moving centrally. I love to see that from him, because I think he can be so effective, not only with striking the ball like we saw last season, but of course tonight with an amazing strike that changed the game once again for Chelsea, got us back in front, but also I think creatively creating crossing opportunities from there. But amazing from Reece. He really took, the chance, the confidence to have a shot from deep, and what a strike it was. Absolutely no chance for the Brighton keeper, and it's 2-1. And then Frank makes the change. And for me, this changes the game, because to me, there were still chances. Lewis Dunk somehow missing the goal from his chance. So just because we scored again, Frank needed to make the change, because there was no rhythm to our game once again, no control to our game. But then when Ross Barkley came off the bench, suddenly Chelsea started moving the ball about. We started to get a hold of the ball. Reece James being able to push up the pitch, Alonso as well, Mason Mount getting on the ball, Kai Havertz getting on the ball a bit more, Jorginho being able to dictate play a bit more. Finally, Chelsea looked to be a cohesive side. It took about 65 minutes, and Ross Barkley for me was the difference. Got to give massive credit to Ross Barkley. And another player, all the players we've talked about this season and this summer, thinking about this season, never did I think that Ross Barkley was going to be a game changer for Chelsea on opening day, but there you have it. And then Kurt Zouma making it 3-1 not long after to wrap up the game. Great to see us score from a corner. Reece James delivery once again, and Kurt Zouma I think can be really effective from corners, to be honest. So great that we had that cushion there, and to be honest, Brighton seemed to fade really in the game from there. It seemed to really kill them off, and Chelsea just breezed to the final whistle somehow, considering everything we'd seen previous to that in the game. I think I've got to give credit to both Andreas Christensen and Kurt Zouma, especially Christensen for me, who I thought had a really assertive and good game. I think considering Chelsea were under a lot of pressure, I think Christensen made some key blocks in the first half, key interceptions, reading the game really well. That's something that Christensen's really good at, reading the game. And I think because Brighton are a possession-based side, like to knock it around a bit on the floor, I think that works for Christensen. My concern will be in those more rugged physical games that we'll see later on in the season against the likes of maybe West Brom, Burnley, and Sheffield United, where I still have massive concerns for Christensen. But I thought it was a really good start to the season for him, a really commanding start to the season for him. Yes, there were some concerns with crosses into the box and set pieces as well, generally. But I think Christensen, a player I criticise on this channel, I've got to give him credit for his performance tonight. But yeah, I mean, another thing as well, Kai Havertz, of course, not having the brightest start tonight. But I felt the weird thing about Kai Havertz, I think his best contributions to the game was defensively. There was a time where he lost the ball in the second half and he just ran back with Solly March, I think it was, and all the way to his own box and getting the ball off him. And he looked shattered after that. And to be honest, made some good interceptions within the game. But of course, he's only had a week of training at Cobham. So got to give him time to settle. I think Werner shone in the first half. I think you can already see he's really getting integrated at Chelsea and looks a really threatening player. And it was nice to see Callum Hudson-ODOI come off the bench as well. Dave's fit as well. Those are my thoughts on the opening game. A weird game to start the season based on the way it played out, but it is 3 points for Frank Lampard's Chelsea. A good start to the season. Of course, it gets a lot more difficult next weekend at home to Liverpool. Hopefully, maybe we'll see a new signing in Edouard Mendy confirmed by the club. Also, Mateo Kovacic will be available for that game, which I think is key to the team as well. A lot of things to discuss about this game, I'm sure, as you guys will do in the comments below. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter at Son of Chelsea, and I'll see you again.